in which our protagonists, Anna and Levine, finally meet, and in which one of their tales comes to an end. Chapter 7. Levine arrived at the club just in time. Guests and members were driving up as he arrived. Levine had not been to the club in a very long while, not since he lived in Moscow and gone out in society after leaving the university. Though he remembered the club, the external details of its arrangement, he had completely forgotten the impression it used to make on him. But as soon as he drove into the wide, semicircular courtyard and stepped out of the cab onto the porch, where a porter in his sash soundlessly opened the door for him and bowed, as soon as he saw in the porter's lodge the galoshes and coats of the members, who understood that it was less trouble to take off their galoshes downstairs than to go up in them, as soon as he heard the mysterious bell ringing to announce him, saw the statue on the landing as he went up the low, carpeted steps of the stairway, and saw in the doorway above a third familiar, though aged porter in club livery, promptly but unhurriedly opening the door while looking the visitor over, he was enveloped by the long-past impression of the club, an impression of restfulness, contentment, and propriety. "Your hat, please," the porter said to Levine, who had forgotten the club rule about leaving hats at the porter's lodge. "It's a long time since you were here. The prince signed you in yesterday. Prince Stepan Arkadyevich has not arrived yet." The porter knew not only Levine, but all his connections and family, and at once mentioned the people close to him. Going through the first big room with screens and another to the right where there was a fruit buffet, overtaking a slow-walking old man, Levine entered a dining room full of noisy people. He walked among almost completely occupied tables, looking the guests over. Here and there he saw the most diverse people, old and young, familiar or barely known to him. There was not a single angry or worried face. It seemed they had all left their anxieties and cares in the porter's lodge together with their hats, and were now about to enjoy the material blessings of life at their leisure. Zviazhsky and Sherbatsky and Nevedovsky and the old prince and Vronsky and Sergei Ivanovich were all there. "Ah, why so late?" said the prince, smiling and giving him his hand over his shoulder. "How's Kitty?" he added, straightening the napkin that he had tucked behind a waistcoat button. "Quite well, thanks. The three of them are dining at home." "Ah, Aline and Nadine. Well, we have no room here. Go to that table and quickly take a seat," said the prince, and turning away he carefully accepted a plate of bourbat soup. "Levine, over here," a good-natured voice called from a bit further off. It was Turovsin. He was sitting with a young military man, and next to them 2 chairs were tipped forward. Levine gladly joined them. He had always liked the good-natured carouser Turovsin. His proposal to Kitty was connected with him, but now, after so many strained intellectual conversations, he found Turovsin's good-natured air especially agreeable. "These are for you and Oblonsky. He'll be here any minute." The very straight-backed military man with merry, always laughing eyes was the Petersburger, Gagin. Turovsin introduced them. Oblonsky's eternally late. Ah, here he is. Have you just arrived? Said Oblonsky, quickly coming up to them. Greetings. Had vodka? Well, come on. Levine got up and went with him to the big table, set with all kinds of vodka and a great variety of hors d'oeuvres. It seemed that out of 24 kinds he might have chosen one to his taste, but Stepan Arkadyevitch ordered something special, and a liveried servant who was standing there immediately brought what he had ordered. They drank a glass each and went back to the table. Right then, still over the fish soup, Gagin was served champagne and had 4 glasses poured. Levine did not refuse the wine he was offered and ordered another bottle. He was hungry and ate and drank with great pleasure, and with still greater pleasure took part in the gay and simple conversation of his companions. Gagin, lowering his voice, told a New Petersburg joke which, though indecent and stupid, was so funny that Levine burst out laughing loudly enough to make his neighbors turn to look at him. It's the same kind as that I simply cannot bear. Do you know that one? Asked Stepan Arkadyevitch. Oh, it's lovely. Bring us another bottle, he said to the waiter, and began telling the joke. Compliments of Pyotr Ilyich Vinovsky, interrupted Stepan Arkadyevitch, old footman. Bring over 2 thin glasses of still bubbling champagne, and addressing Stepan Arkadyevitch and Levine. Stepan Arkadyevitch took a glance, and, exchanging glances with a balding, red-haired man with a mustache at the other end of the table, nodded to him and smiled. Who's that? Asked Levine. You met him once at my house, remember? A nice fellow. Levine did as Stepan Arkadyevitch had done and took his glass. Stepan Arkadyevitch's joke was also very amusing. Levine told a joke of his own, which was enjoyed too. Then the conversation turned to horses, to the day's races, and how dashingly Vronsky's Satiny had won the first prize. Levine did not notice how the dinner went by. Ah, here they are, Stepan Arkadyevitch said when dinner was already over, turning across the back of his chair and holding out his hand to Vronsky, who was coming towards them with the tall colonel of the guards. Vronsky's face also shone with the general merry good humor of the club. He merrily leaned on Stepan Arkadyevitch's shoulder, whispering something to him, and with the same merry smile gave his hand to Levine. Very glad to see you, he said. I looked for you back at the elections, but was told you had already left. Yes, I left that same day. We've just been talking about your horses. Congratulations, said Levine. That's very fast riding. I believe you also keep horses. No, my father did, but I remember and know about them. Where did you dine? Asked Stepan Arkadyevitch. We're at the second table, behind the columns. He's been congratulated, said the tall colonel. His second imperial prize. If only I had such luck at cards as he has with horses. Well, no use wasting precious time. I'm off to the inferno, said the colonel, and he walked away from the table. That's Yashvin, Vronsky answered, to Rofson, and sat down in a place that had been vacated next to them. After drinking the glass he was offered, he ordered a bottle. Levine, influenced either by the impression of the club or by the wine he had drunk, got into a conversation with Vronsky about the best breeds of cattle, and was very glad to feel no hostility towards the man. He even told him, among other things, that his wife had mentioned meeting him at Princess Maria Borisovna's. Ah, Princess Maria Borisovna, she's lovely, said Stepan Arkadyevitch, and he told a joke about Maria Borisovna that made everybody laugh. Vronsky in particular burst into such good-natured laughter that Levine felt completely reconciled with him. So, all done? Said Stepan Arkadyevitch, getting up and smiling. Let's go. If you enjoy this format, please leave a like and subscribe and return tomorrow for the next chapter.